men and women who serve in our armed forces face challenges unique to military life. In many cases, they're separated from the ones they love most, compounding their stress and amplifying their worry. Most civilians think that military families live on base with all the help they need, but that's not the case at all.
The 20th century, yes, folks lived on base. The Cold War ended, we downsized our base, and now military-connected people live in almost every zip code in America. But because of their lifestyle and how often they move, they're disconnected from their neighbors. They're often lonely. They're facing economic insecurity because it's hard for the spouses to work. And while they're doing this heavy lift for our country, they're struggling a bit at home.
Fundamental to alleviating this stress is finding a way for military families to connect with their civilian counterparts. For a decade, Blue Star Families, a national nonprofit, has been working towards closing the divide between civilian and military neighbors in creating a more inclusive and supportive environment.
I really felt it myself. I felt the isolation that comes from being part of a military family. I was working in a career field I loved, around a large community of friends when I married my husband, and we moved again and again, and sometimes I found myself in a small town with small children, with no work, my husband deployed to a combat zone, and people around me who were strangers to me. And the things that I found when I made a civilian connection was not only could people help me solve my problems, but they gave me that sense of home. That gave me that sense of comfort. I can think of one time when we were stationed in San Diego, my husband was deployed, I had an infant and a toddler, I had a medical emergency at home, and one of the moms at the preschool was a doctor, and I called her up, and she didn't know me well, but she came over and she helped take care of me at my house, so I didn't have to take that baby and toddler to the emergency room. And not only did that solve my problem, but it made me feel cared for, and it made me feel like I could keep doing this life.
As the military community continues to bear the burden of wars, deployments, and peacekeeping missions across the globe, it is vital to ensure military families have the support they need.
My husband served in the United States Marine Corps for 12 years and was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, so he had 3 tours. Unfortunately, he was injured in combat and suffered TBI and PTSD. So my role as a spouse changed overnight, and I found myself becoming a full-time caregiver, giving up my career. The toughest part for us at that time was having to help him for a whole year because he had gone through double knee surgeries and couldn't walk. You know, as a spouse of a Marine, you think life or death. You never think about the in-between, the injuries, and so you're really not prepared for that part. I wasn't ready for it, you know, but I just had to learn on the job.
Pat's hardships don't end there. As a military spouse and caregiver, finding a job was difficult. With a master's degree in cybersecurity management, her talents were impressive. However, efforts to secure a job that was also compatible with her responsibilities at home proved beyond challenging. She refused to give up. Pat reached out to Blue Star Families, and the organization was key to her current success.
Blue Star Families was there for my family during the transition. They brought us together through the tough times, and they connected us with other families in DC for peer support. Blue Star Families was also very instrumental when it came to my getting ready to go back to work, that transition, which was very complex because it is very hard to explain to employers the gaps in your resume. But they were very good at pointing out the skills I had gained as a caregiver and translated them into what employers are looking for. At the time, I also was a fellow with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, and I got to be introduced to the executives of Booz Allen. And during that meeting, one of the executives said to me 3 things that I will never forget. She said, "Patricia, we have heard your story. We are Booz Allen, and we can do something." Those are the words that are very comforting to any caregiver that is looking for a job. And I'm very excited to tell you today that I am a senior consultant with Booz Allen, great company to work for.
So I think anybody who talks to Pat within seconds would know that they'd want her as an employee. Her charisma and her intelligence come through immediately when you talk to her, but her background is also an especially good fit for Booz Allen as a business. She's a highly educated woman. She has a degree in law. She has experience and a degree in cyber policy, which fits in like a glove with our business. So as soon as we met her, we knew we wanted her.
Blue Star Families doesn't just have stories, we also have data. We have the largest and most comprehensive survey about what's going on in the military community. And so we see that most families feel that they don't belong in the communities where they live. Almost a third haven't had a conversation with the civilian in the last month, but they want to. So we invite people to come to our website to become a Blue Star neighbor and to make a connection directly. And that connection is something we try to make easy, whether it's through a coffee meetup at Starbucks, or whether it's through mentoring someone to get a job or hiring a spouse to get a job. By doing a little thing in your day, you can make a big difference in a person's life, and really a difference in the life of the country too.
To learn more and find ways to connect, visit bluestarfam.org/join today.